Me an expensive fence. One night I had a knock at my door from the funeral homeowners down the street. They told me that they had just bought the property between us and were going to demolish the house to build a parking lot. They said that they wanted to build a nice vinyl fence between us and that they would pay for everything. All they needed from me was to sign an agreement saying that it was okay for them to build the fence. This agreement was 3 pages long. I told them that I would be happy to take the agreement and sign it tomorrow because it was already 9 p.m. They told me that they couldn't leave the document with me and that I had to sign it right now. I responded that I don't ever sign legal documents without reading them completely, and that I don't have time right now to read them, then suggested that they mail me a copy. After this, they got very pushy and told me that I have to sign it, and I have to do it right now. At this point, I told them to get off my property and slammed my door shut. I did some research, and city code required them to build a very specific type of fence, because we had 2 different zonings of property next to each other. A bit later, they built a foam core concrete fence that was 8 feet tall. It looked good, and to an untrained eye, it looked to meet the requirements of the city ordinance. At this time, I also received a letter from their lawyer about the old wooden fence that they also left standing was on their side of the property line. That if I tore it down, repaired it, or did anything else to it, that they would take legal action against me. Cue the petty revenge. I found a city ordinance that outlaws a fence within a fence. It basically says that there is only one fence allowed per property line. I took that to the city planning commission, and they forced my neighbor to remove the wooden fence. I refused to allow him or his workers onto my property. After that was completed, I went back to the planning commission to demand that the correct fence be built. City ordinance stipulated an 8-foot tall solid masonry fence and explicitly forbid the use of foam core fencing in this situation. The commission sided with Maya and made him tear out his brand new fence. After that, he put up a temporary chain link, freestanding fence between our properties. The wind kept blowing it down, so I asked him to take care of it. He told me to figure it out myself, so I welded his rented fence pieces together. They were no longer portable, but they stopped blowing down. They were also taking a long time to get the permanent fence in, so I ordered a Boris-style neon green Speedo. You should Google it to really understand. I then wore that during the nights in the summer while I sat at my fire pit. The guests of funerals could clearly see all of me lit up in the twilight. I like to think that this helped motivate them to put in an opaque fence. When he finally put in the correct fence, his workers trampled about 30 feet of my rose bushes and killed them, so I had the planning commission order him to pay me damages for the roses. The workers also broke some of my sprinklers, and I was able to force him to repair those too. To top this all off, he stained his side of the new fence, and left mine with only stain splatters and stain drips. Since I was batting 1,000, I went back to the city ordinances and found one that prohibited this exact situation. Back to the commission I went. After more fighting, he had to pay to stain my side of the fence too. It took 5.5 years of petty revenge, but now I have a beautiful tall fence to keep my yard quiet and safe. It added a lot of value to my property too. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Funeral Home, sign that.